Good morning, good night, or good evening, whatever time of the day it is you are joining us for this weekly um, confab about things going on in Tulsa. I'm here with my colleagues, the lovely and talented Jimmie Tramel and the lovely and talented Grace Wood. And we're here to talk about what will be appearing in this coming scene section in the Tulsa World, which can be purchased at fine retailers everywhere and viewed online at tulsaworld.com, where we urge you to get a digital subscription so you can read everything. Um, it is spring has sprung and has remained spring for the 36 hours that spring usually is in Oklahoma, because we've gone right to summer. That all means flowers, and I believe, Grace, you have some tips about how to deal with those things.
Absolutely. So my story for this week is kind of all about the best ways to properly cut flowers from your garden and bring them inside, and how to help them last longer and stay vibrant and colorful for longer. So I talked to an expert horticulturalist from OSU, and he gave me lots of good advice for this. And he also dispelled a few popular beliefs about flowers, like how you should cut their stems diagonally, and that, adding aspirin to the water in your vase will actually make them last longer. Those things aren't really actually true. So to learn more tips and sort of best practices for cutting your flowers from your garden, that story will come out this Saturday in Tulsa World. So make sure to check it out.
Are there certain flowers that last longer than others once they're cut and put in a vase, or do they all have a relatively short shelf life?
I think they all kind of have like similar shelf lives, though I think things like, or flowers like roses do tend to maybe last a little bit longer, but it's all about how you kind of take care of them too. Like if you use like, what is it called? Like plant food, and put that in the water, as well as like some sugar, that will make them last longer. And also just frequently changing out the water too, that'll help them last a long time. So yeah.
Jimmie, what's your favorite flower?
I'm wondering what the aspirin was supposed to do. What was the, you've said it's a urban legend, false, but what was an aspirin alleged? How is that supposed to be helping?
It was to kill the pain. They've been cut off.
Well, that makes sense.
Exactly. You hack off an arm, what's the first thing you're going to do? Where's the bear? I mean,
if you throw in a Flintstones vitamin, will the great gazoo grow out of the ground? I don't know.
No, it was just like, supposedly it would provide some extra nutrients and some extra, sort of food to help the plant keep growing and keep fresh for longer. But that's
what gravy is for. Put gravy in there.
Exactly. But
well, as someone who was raised by a woman who claimed that she could kill plastic plants, I'm not terribly familiar with keeping plants alive. So any tips will be helpful, I know. So, all right. As when you first talked about cutting, the thing that I envisioned was the old Addams Family TV show with Morticia, chopping off the tops of the roses because they got in the way of the thorns. But
that's so great.
That just goes to show you where my mind is at today. Anyway, well, speaking of things dark and funny, you had a close encounter with a couple of Addams Family inspired people, I do believe.
Yeah, and you're speaking of Kiss, of course, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. Hey, since this is music related, I need to throw out a quick congratulations to Alexa, the music artist from Jinx, who won NBC's American Song Contest on Monday night. I didn't want to jinx Alexa, but I always thought she would win because A, she has a global following, and B, her performance is just so visual, almost like a music video come to life. And the song is really catchy. So all the stars aligned. Really happy for Alexa on Monday night. I think Snoop Dogg even told her in a one-on-one conversation, like, you're a star. And she is, I think, from this point on.
Excellent.
But Kiss, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley were supposed to be in Bremen, almost on the Kansas border in Oklahoma, yesterday for the opening of a Rock and Brews themed casino. They have restaurants that are Rock and Brews. This is their first venture into the casino area.
May I interject?
Sure.
When you say brews, I'm hoping they spelled it BREWS.
Correct.
And not BRUISE.
Correct.
Okay.
That as in craft beer, which they definitely hawked during our Zoom call yesterday. They couldn't make it because of wind shear, but a Zoom call was arranged for publicity purposes, so they could talk about the venture and having a casino in otherwise a very, very remote part of Oklahoma. Like the population of Bremen is like the population of the Tulsa World office, but basically it's very small. I'm not kidding even. I mean, it's tiny. It's a spot on the road on I-35, but
does it have as many bats as the Tulsa World Newsroom?
I don't know about that. But it has a demon and a star child, of course. But it's kind of an interesting location. It's 55 miles south of Wichita. It's north of Oklahoma City, so they can draw people from places. And obviously, the drawing card is Kiss is such a powerful brand. You know, they were geniuses of branding, even in the early days. And that Kiss brand is on everything now, a casino, even in Oklahoma.
What are they like over Zoom? Have you?
I have spoken to both on telephone before and in person. I was there 5 years ago when they did the groundbreaking for this casino. So it's been 5 years in the making, and they scaled it down a little bit too. It was going to be a much more grand thing with a travel plaza and shopping and everything else, but they kind of right-sized this, for the lack of a better term. But they're old pros at this. They know what they're selling. They get those talking points out, and then you can ask your questions too. And I got my questions in. But here's my best Gene Simmons story: is I had him on the phone once because he was coming back to Bremen to play a solo show after the groundbreaking, and I apologized to him. I put everyone on speakerphone when I do an interview so I can record it. And I said, Gene, I'm sorry, I've got to put you on speakerphone. And he said, no problem. I love the sound of my own voice, which for Gene Simmons, I thought was perfect.
That's awesome.
That makes sense. Have either of you been to a Kiss concert?
No.
I've been 2 or 3 times, but it wasn't until they put the makeup back on after their period when, there was a time Grace, back in the day, it was a huge secret who they even were. It was like they had the makeup on and no one ever saw them with the makeup off. Mm-hmm. Then they had this period where they said, no, we're tired of putting on this makeup for every show. We're just going to go without makeup for a few years. But really, it didn't feel the same. They put the makeup back on, got the band back together at some point. I think it was in the 90s. And that's when I saw them for the first time. And when you do see them for the first time, you get it, because Gene Simmons in those platform shoes and the demon makeup looks 9 feet tall on stage. I mean, they're like superheroes come to life in a live concert.
Wow.
I remember our former pop writer, Thomas Connor, who was a big champion of, local and indie. Mm-hmm. But he raved about Kiss concerts because he said they give you what rock and roll should be. It's simple songs about simple topics, but the spectacle of it is just so over the top that as a package it all works well together.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, as you probably know by now, the Bob Dylan Center has opened officially to the public. That happened Tuesday. And the last time we talked, I wasn't able to talk about it yet But now that we can, it is, if you are if all you know about Bob Dylan is that, he's the guy who your parents listened to, that has a real nasally voice, and, or if know every minute detail of his life, you're going to find something amazing here. It's really just, it's very multimedia. It's very interactive. There's a place where if you want to, you can write on the wall or create your own Dylan lyrics out of gigantic magnetic poetry blocks. There are films everywhere. It's really impressively done. And I would encourage people to go see it, even if they hate Dylan, go to see it. Because for me, the fascinating thing about it is that it shows the work that goes into a song. They said that I think you can page through electronically the 10 or 15 drafts of the lyrics for a song called Joker Man, which was kind of a breakthrough for him in the 80s. Just really, really fascinating stuff. And there's a wonderful bit about his, I can't remember now the name of the album, but he recorded an album, I think it was Time Out of Mind, and went on tour with a band that was made up of, led by Steve, the Tractors.
Ripley.
Steve Ripley. I had three Steves all come to mind that play guitar. Steve Ripley, who was the guitarist for the band. There's some pictures from the tour. There's Ripley's Paisley Telecaster on display. There's the tambourine that inspired Mr. Tambourine Man, that's still repaired with a Band-Aid. I mean, it's amazing, amazing collection of stuff. And I also have something that I'm working on for Sunday that I cannot talk about, other than to say that we will be announcing the winner of the 2022 Peggy V. Helmrich Distinguished Author Award. About all I can say is it is going to an American. But we'll find out.
That narrows it down to 330 million.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, that's all I should say. No, you don't, trust me, I know from experience, you don't want to get librarians upset at you.
Grace, you were a athlete in high school, and I forget if you were an athlete in college as well.
Just intramurals, nothing
intramurals.
competitive.
But you were a volleyball player at Bishop Kelly, right?
Yes, I was.
Do you have any affinity for golf? Because it's the big PGA week next week.
No, but my dad is a huge golf nerd, and he is extremely excited, and he really wants me to come with him to the PGA. But I don't know if I'm really all that into it, but I think it's really cool that it's coming to Tulsa, and I think it's definitely a big deal for us, of course, but it's not really my jam. Well, I do like the driving range though. The driving range is fun. I've gone there a couple times, and you can just like hit it as hard as you want. But I'm not really one for just playing golf recreationally.
It's funny when you go to the driving range, you hit those little beat up driving range golf balls, great. And yet when you go on the course, no one uses them. They use a brand new shiny ball. Like, use the driving range ball. It obviously goes farther and better than those new ones you hit crappy when you put those on your tee. I bring it up because David Faraday is a beloved golf broadcaster who's coming to Tulsa for the PGA Championship next week. And in addition to being here for his real job, he's got a one-man stage show at Hard Rock Live where he's very funny. Even if you don't like or follow golf, you're going to find this guy very, very funny. In fact, I did an interview with him. We'll write about him on Sunday, but I said there's many urban legends about David Faraday. One of them that he won the Scottish Open and lost the trophy. It's never been found. So we get into that. Is that true or not? There's an urban legend that Tiger Woods once spiked his breakfast with laxative before they went out and walked the course together. Is that true or not? We're going to get into that and see what I think there's a story there maybe. And James, you're follow the fine arts. There's an urban legend that David Faraday once dreamed of being an opera singer instead of the person he is today. So we'll get into all these urban legends with David Faraday in our Sunday story.
All right. Well, let's see. What else have we got coming up?
Any more laxative stories?
Any more laxatives? I can't think of that right now, but the Tulsa Ballet is closing out its season with what they call the Signature Series. That includes the first ballet by the choreographer from Hamilton called Remember Our Song. It also has a new piece commissioned for the Tulsa Ballet's 65th anniversary, which is this year, called Celestial Bodies, and a comic piece that the choreographer described as a kind of Romeo and Juliet, where Romeo is a nerd and Juliet is kind of a Spitfire like Carmen. So it's called the title's in Portuguese, but it translates the balcony of love. So what I've seen of that, it looks hilarious. So you have all sorts of things going on there. Coming up Monday, May 16th, the Eagles returned to the BOK Center. They were the very first act to play there. They're doing, this is called the Hotel California Tour, where they're playing the album in its entirety for the first half of the show. And then they're doing a second half show of greatest hits. What's unusual about this one is that they are going to be using local musicians as an orchestra and a chorus because there's a lot of orchestral passages in Hotel California and in some of their other works like Take It to the Limit. You know, there's strings all over that. So so if you go to if you can shell out I think the cheapest price I saw was $445. If you've got that kind of money to go see the Eagles, you'll get to hear some local talent performing as well. So I think you all have a favorite Eagles song?
Are they the greatest American rock band?
That's a good question.
I feel like, well, yeah.
They're the most successful,
The most accomplished?
yeah.
Sure.
And they've put out a lot of good stuff over the years. But nobody has
Oh, it's hard to pick one. I do love the concept though of the I'm going to perform the whole album, then it's going to be halftime, and we're going to do another show. I saw the Bryan Adams Reckless tour like that, where he did the entire Reckless Adams album, and then played for like another hour of hits after that. So I love the concept. I wish more bands would do it, where they play an entire album with all the deep cuts, and then give, oh, by the way, here's our greatest hits. It's a great way of doing things.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool. I like the song Witchy Woman. That's the first one that came to mind. I really like that one. And of course, One of These Nights is a great one too. But they have so many good songs. I like the Eagles.
Well, and because Joe Walsh is in the band, you get a lot of Joe Walsh greatest hits in there too that weren't part of the Eagles.
Right. They do a lot of, I know they've done Life's Been Good several times in the past. And actually one of my favorite songs from an Eagles album is a Joe Walsh song, Pretty Maids All in a Row, which is off the Hotel California album. So, well, we'll just have to console ourselves with the listening to the records, because I don't think any of us can afford going to the show. Anyway, well, on that note, we will thank you all for spending some time with us. We hope this has been useful and slightly entertaining. And until next time, we bid you a pleasant good day and stay well.
Be good.